By thanking Sheriff Breeden here. When you're in Florida every year, you're announcing record crime lows, and you think you just can't get any lower. I mean, in some of our bigger population areas, they're down to just a murder or two, which is unheard of. And yet every year we keep breaking those records. And as the 2025 data is coming in, it is showing just unprecedented results in crime rates dropping. Fentanyl cases are down over 70%, which is in large part because we have a president who finally shut down the border. Our fentanyl deaths are down around 50% in just over a year. Again, these are real results. Yeah, get a round of applause. Violent crime rates are down almost 20% statewide. And guess what? It's no surprise. In the last year and a half, we have arrested, we have prosecuted, we have convicted, and we have handed out about 4 times the sentences for violent offenders than ever before in history. So if you put bad guys away, if you prosecute them, crime goes down, and we're going to be as safe as we can here in the state of Florida. So, Sheriff, thank you, wherever you're at. Thank you for being here. I'm joined here today by Representative Ryan Chamberlain, good friend. We also have a few people that are going to provide some remarks here. Jesse Brashear, who's the owner of Brashear's Pharmacy. Eric Larson, who's a pharmacist and chairman of the board for the Florida Pharmacy Association. And Edna Wales, who's a local mom and grandmom and a retired teacher. Thank you for being here. Look. As we've made clear, in Florida, we want to protect patients. We want to protect our seniors. We want people to have access and the opportunity to have fair, low-cost prescription prices. And we believe that a lot of our smaller business independent pharmacies are providing that essential care to Floridians. But unfortunately, you have many big corporations out there that care more about profit, more about lining their pockets, than looking after our patients and their well-being. So this morning we're announcing another legal action. You may remember recently we issued subpoenas to CVS Caremark after seeing evidence that shows they very likely provide disproportionate beneficial treatment to their own retail stores as opposed to the independent pharmacies who are subjected to unfair pricing rules. They're subjected to harassing audits. They're subjected to different business practices that CVS's Caremark stores don't have to go through. And thus it drives a lot of them out of business. It's anti-competitive, and where you have less competition, you guys know what happens. Prices go up, and they go up at the benefit of these big corporations, not you. So we're going to take action there. That's going to be a big case. We'll be working on it for a while. This morning, we're actually going to announce a lawsuit. We have sued this morning 2 PBM companies, Prime Therapeutics and Express Scripts. We are suing them for price fixing, deception, and unjust enrichment. We see anti-competitive practices here that, again, enrich corporations and hurt our small businesses and our patients. Back in December 2019, these 2 companies announced a collaboration. It was not a merger, it was not a joint venture, it was a collaboration, but in reality it was a price-fixing agreement. Effective in April 2020 and still ongoing after multiple extensions, Prime adopted Express Scripts' significantly lower reimbursement rates. That's lower reimbursement rates, lower money to our small business independent pharmacies. And get this, before the agreement, Prime's rates were roughly 20% higher as they competed on the merits. After the agreement, after the collusion, rates declined around 80% for 80% of branded drugs and 70% of generic drugs. Again, this was not a merger, not a joint venture. This is not one company. This is 2 independent companies working together to fix prices and ultimately hurt people. One example, a pharmacy we spoke with outside of Orlando saw reimbursement for one drug drop about 45%, turning something that was profitable and enabled them to run a business and provide fair pricing into a $15.45 loss on every single individual prescription, something that is not sustainable and takes away opportunity for patients. When local pharmacies are forced to operate at a loss or close to a loss, they suffer, they can't continue business, and ultimately less competition ends up in the market. So this is wrong. As long as I'm Attorney General, I'm going to be fighting these injustices. You better believe it. We care about patients here. Several years ago, Governor DeSantis led the effort to pass legislation to lead to PBM reform. You know, at the time, I didn't even really know what a PBM is. You know, it's this middleman cartel that, you know, takes drugs from manufacturers and decides who to give them to and how much to charge. And unfortunately, there's only a few of them that make up almost the entire market. This is wrong. They give kickbacks and rebates to incentivize certain products, certain prices, and we're not going to stand for it. So if you hurt people, if you fix prices, if you engage in anti-competitive conduct, we're going to sue you. We're going to seek injunctive relief to make you stop this bad behavior, and we will seek damages. We will make you pay for it. If you hurt people in Florida, you're going to pay. So with that, people can, thank you. Our legal complaint will be public out there. People can look through everything. We always have an open door to companies that you know, want to talk through doing it the easy way and not the hard way. We avoid lawyers and litigation, believe me, where we can, but not always. As was seen, you know, Meta recently signed a deal with, I think, every other state but us at this point. You know, gave a little payout to make amends for a decade of child safety issues. They've been hit hard by a jury out in New Mexico, and the evidence is clear that kids have suffered due to their addictive features that they've intentionally designed. It's led to a lot of self-harm, depression, eating disorders. It's clear that our kids have suffered for over a decade, and we're not going to sell out when it comes to our kids. We're going to fight hard. That is one where they didn't want to do it the easy way, so we'll do it the hard way. All right, well, let's get back to the topic here. Representative, thank you for being here. I'll let you say a few words.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today and honored to serve House District 24, which starts in the Villages and goes all the way up through North Marion County. But I'm here today really just to thank our Attorney General for being here and to show my support. Listen, we're in the retirement capital of the world. Whether we want to take on that title or not, that's where we're at, and that's the state we're at, and in this area particularly. And when people do intentional things that impact the access to affordable medication, it affects a lot of people in a bad way. And in observing what our Attorney General has been working on over the last few months and just how he operates and how he leads and protects our state, I'm proud today to stand here with our AG as he's tackling this particular issue, which is going to affect a lot of people in a positive way. So really, we're blessed as a state. We're blessed certainly as an area to have somebody that cares, somebody that works hard, somebody that's raising the standard. Somebody's got to raise the standard. It might as well be Florida, and it might as well be our Attorney General, and that's what he's doing. And we're proud to have somebody that actually gets things done, because you can have a lot of rhetoric, you can run around and have a lot of conversations, but when you have somebody that does have the conversations but gets something done, you can really want to support and edify that person to keep doing the job that he's doing. So we're proud to have you here. Thank you for being such a great, really a great Attorney General. We're blessed to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Next, we'll have Jesse Brashear from Brashear's Pharmacy. Thank you for being here.
Thanks to the Attorney General for the opportunity to speak here today. 35 years ago, a young pharmacist took every dollar he had and he opened a pharmacy. He cared about people, and he believed in his local community he could provide a level of service and compassion that he didn't see at the other pharmacies in town. He believed he could do a better job and provide that care at a lower cost. My name is Jesse Brashear. I'm now a second-generation pharmacy owner, and that young pharmacist was my dad. Today, my father is retired, but because of the way the PBM system has evolved, I've had to look him in the eye and tell him I'm not sure I can keep the pharmacy that he and my mother opened. PBMs have a role in the pharmacy marketplace, but the concern and what we're discussing here today is that something has changed. We are no longer dealing with a marketplace where everyone is competing on a level playing field. That's not just a concern in Florida. Red flags have been raised across the country by pharmacy owners, state governments, federal regulators, policymakers. Florida's right to investigate whether the companies with this much control over our pharmacy system are manipulating it. My wife is also a pharmacist. She was the valedictorian of her high school in a town not far from here. She went on to attend the University of Florida College of Pharmacy. This is somebody we would think would have success in pharmacy in Florida. But every day when she's standing behind the counter, a patient can walk in the door with a new prescription, and she's not able to take care of them the way that she wants. She has the medicine and the knowledge. She has the experience to counsel that patient. But when she processes the prescription through the patient's PBM, she can be paid less than the cost it took to put it on the shelf. She now has a choice as a pharmacist. She can either take care of the patient standing in front of her and lose money doing it, or she can send that patient elsewhere. That complicates their care, and it breaks the relationship the patient has with their pharmacist. She'll probably lose that patient forever, and that is an impossible position to put a healthcare professional in, and it happens every day in pharmacies across Florida. You have the patient, you have the drug, the knowledge, the training, the ability to care for them, but you have a problem. There's a PBM standing in the middle. It feels like the system has been designed to make independent pharmacies like ours just go away. Let me give you one more example. I recently spoke with one of our pharmacists when I told him I was coming here today, whose immediate family member, he told me, was prescribed a somewhat expensive brand name medication recently. This pharmacist knows exactly what that medication costs on the marketplace. He can compare prices. He can find the best price available on the marketplace. But when he billed the prescription through his own family's insurance plan, the PBM reimbursement then was lower than the least expensive price he could find to purchase the drug. So what did he have to do? He had to send his own family member to a competing chain pharmacy to pick up the medication on his way home from work. Think about that. The pharmacist had the medication, he had the ability to dispense it, he had the training to take care of his family, he wanted to do it himself. But once again, there was a PBM standing in the way. That's why this investigation matters. PBMs have created a system where they are effectively the judge, jury, and executioner of patient choice in Florida. They influence which drugs are covered, which pharmacies patients can use, and determine what pharmacies are paid. And all of that happens with little transparency and accountability. When corporate middlemen have accumulated this much control over healthcare, Floridians deserve someone willing to ask hard questions. I'm thankful that we have an attorney general that is willing to do that. All of these questions aren't just appropriate, they're overdue, and I'm thankful that this is moving forward.
That's very well said, and it shows how real these issues hit home and why it's important that we fight. I've always said I think it's the attorneys general that really need to be the front line of defense to protect individual freedoms and businesses, and we're going to do that here in Florida, and you better believe I'm talking to my colleagues, and they're going to be jumping into this fight too. Next, we'll hear from Eric Larson from the Florida Pharmacy Association. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. My name is Eric Larson. I'm also an owner of Prescriptions Unlimited in St. Cloud, Florida, independently owned pharmacy, and a pharmacist by trade, and currently the chair of the board for the Florida Pharmacy Association. First, I want to thank the Attorney General and the Antitrust Division of the Florida Attorney General's office for looking into these egregious practices by the PBMs and really taking independent pharmacy and patients into consideration across the state. Today's conversation is about PBMs, reimbursement, and really about competition as well. But ultimately, it's whether an independent pharmacy is going to have a fair opportunity to compete in this marketplace and continue serving our communities. Pharmacists spend years in school earning a doctorate in pharmacy. Independent owners borrow money, invest savings, because our vision of community pharmacy is different. We want to know that you're patients by name and care for them as we care for your own mother, father, grandchildren, or parents. We want to deliver medication to patients who can't leave home. We want to bring medication to hospital beds for patients that can't get home and have to get transportation to their facilities. Our employees live in these communities. Our children go to school there. We buy homes, we pay taxes. Their paychecks support the local economy. We're sponsoring recreational activities, supporting local schools, providing vaccines for homebound patients, supporting charities, and stepping forward when the community calls for us. We're not simply locating our communities, we're entrenched in them. But today, independent pharmacies are operating in a marketplace where economics become increasingly difficult to survive. One of the biggest issues is how we value pharmacists' professional service. We evaluate their prescription. We look for interactions. We resolve problems before it gets to the patient. Yet the professional dispensing fee by the PBMs and that knowledge and responsibility is worth pennies and sometimes nothing. Our value of the healthcare system should not be attached to the cost of the medication. A colleague introduced me to an analogy which has really kind of resonated a couple years ago. It's to an auto mechanic. So say your car is broke down and you have to get a part fixed and the part costs $20. You don't walk into the auto mechanic and say, hey, I'll pay you the $20. I don't need your expertise to fix it. We'll just pay you the cost of the part. That's the same concept that PBMs are deploying right now, where they're paying us the cost of medication, but nothing for that professional service. And that can't be how it is in the marketplace. Whether the medication costs $5 or $5,000, our education, our knowledge, our processes do not change. So again, we should not be tied to the cost of medication, whether it's expensive or cheap. We should be tied to our professional cognitive knowledge of that medication and what we do day to day. There's another part of the system that patients really don't see, the network, and that's what we're discussing today. This is where reimbursement, network leasing, and patient steering all begin to come together as one. PBMs build pharmacy networks by contracting with pharmacies like ours. In a competitive marketplace, PBMs should compete to build those networks and compete for pharmacy participation. But consider the arrangements between ESI and Prime Therapeutics. Rather than operating entirely separate pharmacy networks and independently competing, Prime gained access to ESI's buying power and leveraged its much larger pharmacy network with subsequently low reimbursement rates to independent pharmacies. So instead of having two large PBMs independently competing for participation, the reach of one network and its reimbursement economics can be extended across additional patients and health plans. The PBMs gain scale and leverage, and independent pharmacies ultimately suffer and close. Nothing changed at the pharmacy operationally. We do the same thing we did. We take care of our patients. The processes are the same. The labor is the same, if not more, and we provide the same level of care for less. Our professional dispensing fees in the Prime Therapeutics network were already low. And then they took an additional hit when this merger happened, or I'm sorry, this collaboration happened, I should say. And it went from a small dispensing fee to 0, 0.5, 0.05, 5 cents. Different networks were paying on different dispensing fees, but most of them were minimal, if not nothing at all. Not to mention the drug cost. Then we look at the other side, marketplace, steering. So all these things tie together. Express Scripts isn't simply a PBM administering pharmacy benefits. They also own pharmacies, as we know, right? So its corporate structure allows affiliated pharmacies competing for prescriptions, including mail order and specialty pharmacy operations. It's a fundamental question of competition. What happens when an entity has significant influence over a network pharmacy leads to the network pharmacy that needs to participate in significant influence over that pharmacy is paid, and affiliated pharmacies competing for the same prescriptions. Imagine competing against a company that can influence whether customers are allowed to come to your pharmacy, luring them to their own affiliated pharmacy with cost concessions, deep underpayments to that pharmacy that they're choosing, and the pharmacy cannot sustain that, or as Mr. Brashear mentioned, send that prescription to an affiliated pharmacy, for example. For independent pharmacy that's not transactional, it's a fracturing relationship and a hindrance on our communities. That's why we cannot look at network leasing, reimbursement, vertical integration, and patient steering as separate issues. They are all interconnected. If you drive down what the independent pharmacies paid, extend those reimbursement economics across additional patients through network arrangements, and steer patients toward affiliated pharmacies, eventually don't weaken the competitor, you eliminate the competitor. I want to highlight a personal experience. We deal with a lot of pediatric patients in the Orlando area and high-risk populations. And this is just one example of many. Lily is an 11-year-old patient of ours who has cystic fibrosis. She requires a lot of medications and specialty, quote-unquote specialty, as they call it, which are high-dollar medications. You know, a lot of times we'll try to fill these medications. We have a good relationship with the children's hospital in the area, and we'll get rejections that say patient cannot use this. Pharmacy not allowed at this location. The location's the key part of that, because it can be allowed at a specialty pharmacy owned by a PBM no matter what. Sometimes on occasion we'll get access to this medication and be able to bill it at a massive loss of hundreds of dollars. Unfortunately, in those scenarios, what do? It's a lose-lose scenario. We want to take care of the patient. Do we want to lose $100 every month for this medication? It's a financial burden on the pharmacy. But of course, as I say, it's God's plan. We take care of the patient, we get them the medication, they live local to us, and we don't want that refrigerated medication that's going in her nebulizer solution to travel across 7 states. It also delays in care when it's got to be shipped from another area in the country. This is just one example of many. So, with that said, we really thank the Attorney General and the Antitrust Division, I can't stress all the work they put in, for standing up to this competition for small business and ultimately the patients that we serve. We're not asking for the government to protect us from competition. We're asking for the state to help us compete and let the free market win, right? Which is the best service and the best access to patient care. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for that testimony, and we'll save the best for last here. Edna, if you want to come say a few words.
Yeah, I'm short. Good morning, everybody. My name is Edna Iris Santana Wales. Yes, I use all the names. I'm a 78-year-old retired HR administrator and a teacher by part-time. I'm a mother of 4, and I'm proud to say I'm also a great-grandmother of 3. I want to tell you my story. I need to share with you my story because I know for a fact that I'm not the only one who has lived through this. My troubles started back when I was in my middle 40s, high blood pressure, and then it turned into congestive heart failure. I remember one time I was so desperate to see my doctor, I went right into the office begging for an appointment, and I passed out in front of the office. They rushed me to the emergency room. No, I was one of the lucky ones. The reason for it, the emergency room was top-notch. It was Advent in Orlando. Now, there's a catch to all of this. Yes, I was lucky. Why? I had good health insurance through my job. But here's the catch that didn't cover, which was my prescriptions. My medical insurance through my job covered all of my medical stuff, but I did not have prescription insurance. At one point, I was taking 10 different medication every single day. Those pills was what kept me alive and kept my heart going, but they cost a fortune. So I did what a lot of us would do. I kept working as an administrator with Orange County Public Schools. On top of that, I taught night classes at college in the medical program. That extra paycheck, ladies and gentlemen, was not for anything of fun and games. That money went straight to my medicine. So working that second job did keep me alive because I had my medicine. And I'm far from the only one. I have plenty of friends who live to pick up part-time work just to cover their prescriptions today. These are folks who worked hard their whole lives. They ought to be home enjoying their family, their grandbabies, not worrying about how much the prescriptions are going to cost. That's why this matters so much to me, making sure folks can actually get their medicine. And that's why I'm so grateful to Attorney General Grant, who is standing up for our small businesses and our local pharmacies. Our local pharmacies know us. They really, truly do. They provide a level of personal care that you simply cannot replace. We can't let a few giant companies, I'm not going to name them, you all know who they are, squeeze out the little guy. Our small businesses, our neighborhood pharmacies, and leave the rest of us with fewer choices and higher bills. So I want to thank our Attorney General for standing up for the little guy, for the businesses, for the people that went to school to learn pharmaceutical drugs. Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you that in my 78 years, you go to a local pharmacy, and that pharmacist knows the medicine better than the doctor that prescribed it to you. And that is truth, because I have been in the medical field. Nobody should take a second job in their golden years just to afford the medicine that keeps their heart beating. We need to look out for patients, and we need to look out for the local pharmacies and what they have, how have they looked out for us. Because for someone like me, this is not politics, ladies and gentlemen. This is my life and the lives of my dear friends. So thank you for letting me share my story with you.
Got to tell you, I love this job. It's, hearing things like this just get me fired up. You're right. It's not politics. It's public safety. It's siding with our consumers over big corporations and ensuring that we're making sure Florida is the safest state to live, work, and raise a family. And I'm always certainly going to be dedicated to doing that, and we will fight the good fight every day. So thank you all for being here. I think we got time for a couple questions if there are any. Yes, sir. Yeah, look, this, as we've said from the beginning, this has been a politically motivated witch hunt driven by the Democrats and a far-left Democrat state attorney in Tallahassee. This hoax has been debunked time and time again. I'm not allowed under Florida law to comment on the report, so I can't say if it's true or not. But if it is indeed true, it shows a couple things. First, it shows that there was no probable cause found that anybody did anything wrong. It also, if this report is true and it shows that the Democrats had to collude with the press to break the law and release a document that's not allowed to be released under the law just to show that a far-left Democrat state attorney is incompetent, then I don't think we have anything to worry about here. Yeah. So you're asking me to talk about the contents of a report. Let's do a little exercise here. Let's pull out your phone. Let's go. First of all, what's your name? What is it? Martin? And who are you with? All right, pull out your phone. Let's go here. First, 905.27 Florida statutes says we're not allowed to comment on the contents of any grand jury proceeding, and it goes further to talk about a court ordering. So by law I'm not allowed to talk about it. So now here's the big one. Go to Florida statutes 777042. You going to it? 777042. Why don't you read it with me here? A person who solicits another to commit an offense prohibited by law commits the offense of criminal solicitation. Are you trying to solicit a crime here in violation of the law? I did not think so. I did not think so. I did not think so. Here's what I'll say. Nobody did anything wrong here. There was not even probable cause to move forward. This is a hoax, and all it did was show that the Democrats, they can't win on policy. They can't win on the law. We got the lowest crime rates in history, so they want to lie and smear and try to break the law. So, all right, any other questions?
General, why didn't you sign the Meta deal?
All right, the Meta deal. Let's talk about the Meta deal. So Meta agreed with most states. I mentioned it earlier, to the tune of, $12, $13 billion. That sounds like a lot of money, right? It does. Until you look at a couple things. This is a $1.5 trillion company. This is a rounding error for them. You look back at the tobacco settlements the AGs negotiated, $200+ billion, and that was 30+ years ago. So it's a rounding error, weeks of revenue. That's peanuts. That's not sending a message. That's not punishing a big corporation that hurt our kids. They knowingly design these applications to be addictive. They want kids. You've seen it. We get stuck just scrolling and scrolling, and they've had young teenagers on there using these platforms in schools all night when they're supposed to be sleeping and resting, addicted. And so then we see evidence of self-harm, of eating disorders, of mental disorders, of violence, of addictions. That's what they did to our kids for over a decade. So if they want me to take some settlement like one of these other states where, for several $100 million, less than, by the way, the jury, the people of New Mexico, awarded almost $1 billion for New Mexico. In Florida, we're more than 10 times the size of New Mexico. That's unacceptable. We will not capitulate. We will not sell out when it comes to our kids. They need to take this seriously. If they're going to treat it like a joke, like an insult, then they're going to have to fight. And we got the best dang legal team in the country. We will see them in court. I have a feeling that in a courtroom not too far from here, the people of Florida, they want to stand for our kids. And they're going to hold these big corporations accountable. So, got my word. All right. Thanks, everybody.